Great. So let's start off with a story. It's always good to have a story. This happens to have been a true story. Yeah. It's not like a true story made up by Nachman Seltzer. This is a real story, a true story. The story was Maram Padova. He lived in the times of the Ramah, and he printed the Rambam. He was the one who printed the Rambam. In fact, in the bottom of like the Kesef Mishnah, Mag Mishnah, every once in a while you'll see a little ha'ara, and those are the ha'aras of Maram Padova. So he reprinted the Rambam. He made it very nice for those days. He made it very nice, and he made the Rambam. Lived in the same town, there was a Goyish publisher who was very disturbed by the fact that Maram Padova did not use him to publish the Sefer. Excellent, thank you. So this publisher was disturbed by the fact that Maram Padova used a different publisher, a competitor. So this Goyish publisher decided he's going to also print the Rambam in order to bury the Maram Padova, in order to put him out of business. What he'll do is, whatever the price that Maram Padova will charge for this Rambam, he will charge a zahuv less, which is a gulden. It was a Polish gulden at the time. He will charge a gulden less, and this way he'll put the Maram Padova out of business. Today, if you print Svarim, look, can I know how many Svarim you have already? King Yirbu. So in the olden days, it wasn't like that. To print a Sefer was a hefty project, undertaking. And if Maram Padova would not be able to sell off the Svarim that he printed, he'll go under. He'll be buried with the debt that he took to be able to publish this. And that's what happened. So this Yantel, it's called, he printed this Rambam to compete. Mamish, he printed like a half year later. For who knows how many decades the Rambam wasn't printed, maybe for centuries. Came along Maram Padova, all of a sudden there's two printings of the Rambam in the very same year, about 6 months apart from each other. Now the question was, for the Hamoinam, what should they do? Here they have two choices. They could buy the Rambam that has Maram Padova's Rambam, but it's a little bit more expensive. Or they could buy this Goyish Rambam, and it's cheap. It's a zov cheaper for the Rambam. What should they do? This was the Shaila at the time, and the Shaila went to the Ramah. And the Ramah wrote in this Chuvas, he has a Chuvas Ramah, and you can look it up, it's Simin Yod. Over there, the Ramah dons the Shaila, and he has an Arichas on the Shaila. An Arichas. He has 4 reasons why that one should patronize the Maram Padova's Rambam over the Goyish Rambam, even though it's more costly. And we're only going to focus on one of the reasons that he suggests. Here it goes. So the reason's like this. It says in the pasuk, "V'chisimkru mimkal amisaka, economy amisaka." The pasuk in Bahar. If one sells v'chisimkru mimkal amisaka, economy amisaka, al toinu ish es achiv, one should not overcharge or underpay the other person. There's rules of Ainah that are in the Torah. But the Sifrei Darshans this pasuk differently. Watch this. V'chisimkru mimka, when you're holding by selling something, la'amisecha mechar, you should sell it to a yid. They dash in the pasuk that the pasuk is teaching us that if you have a choice of who to sell it to, a yid or a goy, you should patronize and sell to a yid. Oy kanai, if you're holding by buying something, miyada misecha, you should buy from a yid. So based on this pasuk, we see that one has to patronize a yid over a guy. He has to give him kedima, to first give the yid the crack of making that sale or the purchase rather than the guy. Now, comes along the Ramah, brings the Sifra, and he says even more than that. He says, what is the Sifra talking about? Is the Sifra talking about where everything is the same price? So for that, Ramah says, no, it can't be. Because for that, Dr. Ramah, I don't even need a pasuk. That I know from Misvara. If you have a choice, and you could buy the same thing by a yid or by a guy, for sure you have to patronize the yid, because that's learned out from a different pasuk. That zakta boy. You have to support Yidim. So of course, sorry? Yeah, exactly. So therefore, of course, you have to support the Yid over the guy. In fact, the Gemara learns out from that pasuk a chiddush that if you have a nevela, a dead animal that's not kosher, you can't eat it, and you have a choice of either selling it to a guy, or gifting it to a ger toishav, who's also a guy, but he keeps mitzvahs, what should you do? And the Gemara says, Minasvara, we know it makes sense. Of course, you have to gift it to ger toishav, who's not even a year, before you sell it to a guy. So if the Ramah says, if you see the svara is that a ger toishav comes before a guy, certainly a yid comes before a guy. So for that I don't need a pasuk. So what in the world is a pasuk for? Must be, it's teaching us that even if the yid is more expensive than the guy, you have to patronize the yid before the guy. You have to give him kedima, and therefore, even though Maram Padava is more expensive than this guy who's printing the Rambam, still you have to patronize and buy only the Rambams from Maram Padava. That's a Chuvas Ramah.
Isn't the Pashup shot that there's a gvul to how much the yid can overcharge?
How can he could overcharge? Who says he's overcharging at all? Maram Padava was charging the fair price.
Maram Padava was charging more.
No, yeah, but it was a fair price. It was the guy who made up.
If people in the market, how do you use a fair price?
No, because if the guy wouldn't be out there to just put Maram Padava out of business, how much would he charge for that Rambam? What is considered the normal price?
Are we assuming there's always a correlation between the cost and the price?
No, not after the cost, but there are standards of every industry has a markup. 50% markup, 200% markup, 100% markup. Every industry has a markup. I don't know the industries that you are in, but if you're a restaurant, whatever your costs are, you triple it, and that's what you sell the product for. Every industry, if you're in electronics, it's a markup. If you're in the grocery store, it's a markup. Every industry has what we call industry standard markup. Of course, with Svarm store has a markup. I don't know what Svarm store is here, but let's say Svarm store markup is somewhere between 30 to 35%. Every industry has a markup. We learned this from the Bezdin when they come to Dinitar. We learn the kishkas of every business, so we got it. So every business has a markup, and that's considered standard, a normal thing. The only reason why the guy was cheaper is because he was trying to undercut Maram Padva. Not because that was fair. He didn't care. He was a very wealthy person, and he didn't mind losing money as long as to teach Maram Padva, quote unquote, a lesson. So that's what he was trying to do.
Is it to go buy from the guy?
Sorry?
It's an issur to buy from the guy?
Yeah, because it's pasuk. You have to buy. You have to buy and sell to a yid.
To what extent? Let's say, for example, there's an industry where all the Jewish people in that industry are 30% more than the goyim in that industry.
So we're going to discuss.
Okay.
Let's just flesh this out a little bit. I'm just laying down the groundwork now, and we'll talk about different coolers. I'm going to give you like a half a dozen or more coolers as well, but let's flesh this out. So the Ramah deduces from this pasuk that the pasuk must be talking about where the yid was more expensive, because if it's the same price, I don't need a pasuk. That we should all reckon. It's just pashut, it's svara. And the Tashbats, the Chuvas Tashbats, which preceded the Ramah, says the exact same thing. It brings the pasuk and says the pasuk must be talking about where it's a discrepancy in price, because if not, I don't need a pasuk. It's a svara. So that's the pasuk is teaching us that you have to patronize a yid over a guy, even though there's a difference in price. So that's the groundwork for tonight's shir. And in fact, once we're on this pasuk, I'm going to share with you a beautiful pshat of the Maram Shek. Beautiful pshat how he touches up the pasuk now. It says like this: the chisimkur mimka la misacha. Why was this mitzvah, we'll call it, this din of patronizing, why was it plugged into this pasuk, which is really dealing with Einah, dealing with something else? Why did the Torah teach us this lesson here? And he says, because you would think that since I'm not allowed to overcharge a yid, I'm not allowed to do a no by yid, only by a guy, so you would think that gives you the license to sell to a guy rather than to a yid, because I could charge more to the guy, or I could underpay the guy, I could buy lower from the guy. So you would think you could do that, because it says, I'll tell you, you're not allowed to take a no by a yid, only by a guy. Still, even though I'll tell you, that's why we split over here. That even though I could do a better deal with the guy, still I have to patronize and be makdam the yid. Okay, this is the groundwork for today. And now I want to share with you a half a dozen coolers or more, depending what we have time for. Let's just go through with this. But just to be clear, this mitzvah is not just when one's buying and one's selling, but this mitzvah is when someone's hiring. I have a choice to hire a Yiddish employee or I can hire a Goyish employee. What should I do? So we have a mitzvah to hire the Yiddish employee before a Goyish employee.
Code doesn't take off all the Jewish holidays.
So yeah, but the Yid doesn't take off all the Goyish holidays, right? And by Yid, you hopefully get 60 minutes an hour, and by the Goy, you get about 20, and the other 40 is on his texting and his surfing the internet. So that's how it goes. Yeah? So you have to know, there are mileage both ways, right? Okay, so I know I have a nephew who in the commercial mortgage industry, and both are very successful, and they have two branches. One branch is in Lakewood, and one branch is in New York. The Lakewood branch is staffed with Yidden, and the one in New York is staffed with Goyim. And for some reason, even though, like I remember when we first started out, he was like blown away. He says, what's with Lakewood? At 3 o'clock, the city's closed? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everything's shut down? Like the whole America goes to 5, and Lakewood's on a different time zone. 3 o'clock, we're shut. I say, yeah, that's how it goes in Lakewood. Everyone has to go home. They have to have kids, Baruch Hashem, their mothers. The mothers are fueling the economy. They're the ones who are working. And then yes, that's what happens. But nevertheless, he says that his Goyish clients only want to work with the Lakewood office because they get things done. They ask for something, they get it done right away. And the New York office, till they get an answer, till they get a response, and they do it half done, it's like, for some reason, you see, a Yiddish cup is a Yiddish cup. So there are miles of having Yidden working for you. Yes. There are Kasremis too. Before you know it, they'll open up their competing business. Right? So there are miles in Kasremis.
I'll show you. The shares already up to that.
Right? That's how it is. You know, about the Goyish holidays, I would grab a Yid before going, blindly. Is that, the competition is the Nakunda. All right.
That would work for 50 years and never open up competition.
Exactly. That's how it goes. Dumb as they come. Yeah, so anyway. so the kids, so let's go back. But this is not just, but it's about hiring. And it's by rentals. I have a choice of renting. I'm making a simcha. I could rent tables and chairs from one company. I could do from another company. It's basically any type of commerce, any type of masa matan that we have. We're supposed to do it with Yidden rather than with Goyim. Now let's deal with numerous kulas, because I'm sure everyone knows businesses that not every employee are Yidden. I'm sure we know businesses that every employee are Yidden as well. We have a lot of them. But there are businesses that have Goyish employees too. And the question is how? Like what happened to this mitzvah? Are they supposed to be patronizing only Yiddish employees or not? So we're going to discuss a number of kulas. Diversity, yeah. So we're going to try discrimination, and we're going to try to So let's just try to deal with this. So one way to deal, one heter is if it's a hefsid meruba. See, the Ramah just said if it's a difference in price. The Ramah doesn't tell you how much. And that there are a number of poskim who say that it's only up to a hefsid mu'it, but if it's hefsid meruba, if it's a large financial loss, then I don't have to patronize the yid over a goy. And what's considered large and small, that the poskim do not give us, unfortunately, a clear guideline, but they do say it's hakol lefi ha'ish, depending on what you could afford, and what the price that we're dealing with. For example, if you could buy a car for $30,000 by a yid, and you could buy a guy for $29.5, you could hear that maybe that's a hefsin mood, even though it's $500. But if I tell you could buy a table by a yid for $500, you could buy by a guy for $1, there's not a chance in the world you're going to think you're supposed to buy by a yid, right? So we realize if it's a small item, so the discrepancy has to be small. If it's a high sticker price item, so then yes, then the discrepancy has to be more to be reached the threshold of a hefsid meruba. Okay.
Would you say that the hefsid meruba would be relative? Like I don't have to buy the item. I would buy it if I could save $20. That's okay, so I won't get it from anyone.
Okay, so we'll discuss. We'll try to get to that if we have time for that. That's one of the later kulas. Let's see if we get to it. So the first kula is hefsid meruba, and hefsid meruba, like I said, we need to be magdirit. But let's say you have a company, and now you have a choice of employment, and I can hire somebody, a Yid or Goy, and there's a $5,000 discrepancy in salary. So between me and you, I know that's a discrepancy because I think the work product of a Yid is worth more than the $5,000 difference. So I don't think that that's a discrepancy. But let's say it is meaningful. Let's say his work product won't be that much better. They're comparable, and it's a meaningful difference if it's considered a hefsem merubah for this company. This company is, let's say, a startup company, or it's straggling. It's not, didn't hit it yet. If it becomes, Netflix, I don't know if it becomes, Tesla, then we could talk about even hiring Yidden at a higher price range, because for them it might be still considered a hefsem muad, even if it's a bigger discrepancy. But again, everyone has to be their own judge to know what he could afford, and is it considered for him a hefsem muad or a hefsem meruba.
So it's completely subjective.
Exactly. Yeah, it's unfortunately we don't have a clear agdara. There are some places who want to suggest that it's up to a sixth, but that can't be. That they already are slugged up. That's not that's not the formula. The formula is based on the person, based on the product, the value of the product, and that everyone has to decide for himself. Another heter is.
Is there a way to ask a shaila about that, or it's just impossible?
You could ask a shaila. You should probably ask a shaila because you probably are negei b'dava, and the person you're asking a shaila to is not, and he might be able to have a little more clarity than you do. It is wise.
Even though it depends on so many factors.
Right, and that you'll have to discuss with the Rav and flesh it out together, figure it out. That's one heter. Another.
Who has the right? Is it the person who is hiring, or the one being hired? Would the person being hired be able to take them to Beis Din and say, look, you could.
No one's taking to Bezin because it's not actionable in court. It's not actionable in Bezin. It's a mitzvah.
It's a lawyer.
It's a lawyer. Yeah, this is a mitzvah, but it's not a schus that the person has. It's your din that you have to be marked in him before someone else. It's a form of tzedakah. So, just like the ani can't take the usher to Bezin, I want tzedakah, right? It's not happening, right? It's a form of tzedakah. You're supposed to patronize him, support him. You have to realize the ripple effect that happens when you support Yidden. If we support each other, so then those other families have parnasa, so they pay their rent, so the landlord has money, so the landlord pays his tuition, he pays his tuition, so then the school doesn't come to you that they're short. Right, so it helps. It helps. In the communal world, it will help a lot. To support each other. There's a trickle effect that it goes and it keeps on going. It just goes around and around. Everyone is helping each other, and that works. Another heter is which you mentioned before, and that is this is only provided that the Yid is giving fair market value. Fair market value is determined what. The street. So like you have to look at the street like the same way we would determine fair market value if I would be mazik your chayfetz, how much do I owe you? If I steal your chayfetz, how much do I owe you? If I want to do a geviyah salva on your chayfetz, how much is it worth? There's a weight, there's a shumah, there's a whole simon that talks about in Choshen Mishpat how to evaluate an item. I'll give you a crash course, it's my colleagues, but I'll give you at least one sheet. So what you do is you take 3 comparable stores, and then you take the middle price. So if one sells it for 10, one for 11, one for 13, the price is going to be 11. Not 11 and a half, you don't do that, not 11 and a third. You take the middle one of the 2 ends. That's how you would do it. And if he's there, that's fair market value. The fact that you get it a little cheaper, that doesn't make it not fair market value. He's giving me fair market value, the other person giving a little cheaper. But as long as it's fair market value, then you patronize him. If he's more expensive, for whatever reason is, because he doesn't have the connections, the wholesale connections, doesn't make them. But if he's more expensive than the fair market value, then you don't have to patronize him. So that's the second heter.
Does that apply to sales?
Like what do you mean?
Meaning, let's say there's a Goyish company having a sale, and a Jewish company is selling at fair market value. So where do you set the fair market
No,
value?
the fair market value is the fair market value. The sale is not a fair market value. The sale
You
is
couldn't use the sale. You have to use the
correct. You have to go to regular pricing, not at the end of the
You're not allowed
season.
to buy the sale?
Sorry?
You can't buy the sale.
You could buy a sale if it's a hefsem merubah. You won't have this heter. This heter is if the Yid is not conforming to fair market value. He is conforming, just someone else is giving a sale.
Costco versus a regular grocery, Jewish grocery.
So we'll discuss, believe that we'll get there. Hopefully we'll get there. 4 to 2 is married, right? So we're gonna. What? All night? Okay. So, good. So that's the second heter. The second heter that the Yid has to give fair market value. Okay. A third heter is if the person that we're talking about is an ani. If you're trying to buy something and you can't afford, and you're an ani, so then you don't have to patronize the Yid if it's a different price, because just like an ani is not mechuyev to give a full value of tzedakah, only the very minimal amount, so to you, since this is a form of tzedakah, you're not mechuyev to patronize the Yid over a guy if it's going to cost you. Obviously, if it's same, of course you do. But if it's a difference in price, that you're not mechuyev to spend that tzedakah.
What's the difference between that and hefsek meruba?
Hefsek meruba means I'm not an ani. I'm not an ani. Baruch Hashem, I have a chiv to give tzedakah, but I don't have a chiv b'chlal to patronize someone when it's a large hefsek. Not even I'm fabulously wealthy. I could afford many of these large hefsedim, but if it's still considered a large hefsed, I don't have a pasuk.
Is the heter to the ani different than a hefsek meruba?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because the heter of ani is that he's not mechuyev in giving tzedakah. Hefsek meruba is you are mechuyev to give tzedakah, but the Torah is never mechayev you to patronize a yid when you have a hefsek meruba. It's not because I'm not mechuyev tzedakah. I am mechuyev tzedakah, but this hefsek meruba so far, so wide, the Torah is not telling me I have to patronize a yid.
What's an ani?
What's an ani? That's a good question. So that's a lukas tzedakah. What an ani is. If an ani can't afford, if he's basically in debt, let's just say it like that. He can't afford his basic necessities, the basic expenses, day-to-day expenses. He's not covering his bills, so then he's an ani. If he's in debt, he's an ani.
What's hefsek meruba?
Hefsek meruba, we just said, it's hard to be magdir 100% to quantify that, but hefsek meruba is something significant. We can't say exactly what it is.
About like $10 off.
Well, if it's a dollar item, $10 is hefsek meruba. If it's a $10 item, also $10 is hefsek meruba. If it's a $1,000 item, $10 is not a hefsek meruba. So it's based on the item, based on what you could afford. Okay, let's go to another heter. Another heter is what happens if it's something unique. It's an important heter. What happens if it's something that you cannot get by a yid? You can get something similar, but what you need, the yid doesn't have. Let's talk about a makar to this, and we'll develop it and give you practical applications. But the Tur, Balatur Malatayra, he's fascinating. He lived pre-computer age, and basically he had like a mamish, a phenomenal memory, and he came up with this shita, like a whole shita of how to learn a psukim based on wherever that word is found in Tanakh anywhere. And they'll show you this word is found twice, this word is found 4 times, and they'll show you why all the psukim that have that word are connected. Unbelievable first insight, that shita, and then his command on Tanakh. Just if you ever you feel good about yourself and you know what you remember the Gemara, you remember the Pesukim, just open up Balaturim and then you put back into your place. You're nobody, and like his command was not shy. So anyway, he says on this pasuk, "Oikonu miyad misecha" is found only twice in the entire Tanakh. The word kanoi is found only twice in the entire Tanakh. Once here, and once by David with Garna Yevusim when they were trying to buy the Malkum for the Beis HaMikdash. Over there it says they bought it from this Yevusi. This Yevusi was not a Yid, and yet they bought it Me'arena Yevusi. It's Goyen, it was a granary. They bought it from Arena Yevusi. So Zakta Tur, what's the Torah trying to teach us here? Stam, how could David HaMelech, how could have he bought a parcel of land from a guy? He should have patronized a Yid and bought a parcel of land from a Yid. Why did he buy from a guy? What is going on? He's trying to build the Beis HaMikdash. What is he doing? Zakta Tur is because the Torah is teaching us, that's why he chose that word, to teach us that since there was something auspicious, special about that piece of land, it was the Har Moriah. It was a special piece of land that was mesugel to have the Beis HaMikdash. Now it's true, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be Masher Shechinasai anywhere amongst Klal Yisrael, and he did in Noiv and Given, and he did in other Sheila, he did in other places. But since this land, this area, was more mesugel for the Beis HaMikdash, therefore they gave David HaMelech the right to buy this land from a guy and build the Beis HaMikdash here rather than build it elsewhere. So we see another heter. That is, if something is unique, special that I can't get somewhere else by a yid, I'm allowed to buy it by a guy.
Would that apply to the person, not only the object? For example, the employee has a certain skill set. Or
Correct.
craftsman.
If you have a yid who has a guy who has a certain skill set that the yid cannot match, and let me stress, and you need that skill set, so then you're allowed to buy a higher, I should say.
Need or want? It has.
Well, want means that you gain from it, and it's gonna be something that's meaningful to you, not just, well, I'm not meaningful, but I may as well. No, it's something meaningful to you, so that will give you the right to, let's say I want something with a warranty, and if I want to buy by a yid, he doesn't give the warranty. If I buy by a guy, he gives me the warranty, right? And I'm the type of guy who's nervous. My level of bitachon not so strong, so therefore I need a warranty. I need to know that no matter what, I don't trust the Rebbeinu Shalom. I need to know that even if it breaks, I know that I'm going to get this warranty, right? That's where I'm holding in life. That's my station in life. So b'chai gavna, if that's the case, so then if I need that and it's important to me, and the yid doesn't provide a warranty, so that may give me a heta to buy by the guy. But if it's something just, I don't really need it. I mean, it's an extra perk, but what would I really pay for this warranty? I don't know, a few dollars, and in the big picture, it's still considered hefsed mu'ed, so then that doesn't give me a right to buy by the guy, because it's only hefsed mu'ed. But if something that I need it, so then, yes, I'll be able to buy by a guy. A return policy, 30-day return policy, and he doesn't offer that. And again, and I need it, so if I need it, then I have that right. If I don't, it's just an extra perk, so then that won't give me. But if I need it, then I will do.
Are you required to ask the yid if he'll give you the same policy?
No, you know his policy. You don't know that what he has, and if you don't know, then you should fish.
It's business. I mean, is there any need to say, you know, the Goyish competitor gives?
Oh, I don't know if you have to bargain with him, but what is his policy? You have to. I'm sure his policy is known. You know, return policy actually has a side problem of ribbis, which we're not getting into tonight, but we'll deal with it maybe a different time. So there's a reason why a yid doesn't want to give a return policy, because it might violate ribbis. But okay, so let's talk about another case, and this is a true story. They were trying to build a shul. This is going back 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, and they were trying to build a shul. This is in Europe, and they had a choice of building a shul. I'm not sure maybe it was in the Svata Shakila, because went to stay Chemed was a Shaila. But they had a choice of where to build, of who to hire, who should be the contractor to build a shul. They were able to bring in Chashava, Goyisha, let's call it Italian people, were able to make beautiful arches and beautiful moldings and all that in the ceiling. And instead of thinking about the Rebbeinu Shalom, you're thinking about the ceiling. It would be great for the shul. So b'chai gavna, they could do that and hire Goyisha, will make the shul beautiful shul. Or they could hire Yiddish contractors, and the shul will be nice. It'll be nice. But, you know, it doesn't have the gorgeous moldings. Like, this is a gorgeous shul, just I don't see the moldings here, right?
So wouldn't that fall into the header that you just told us? That would fall into the header that
That's what I'm headed. Good?
You're not gonna need this contractor.
Okay, so you see, there we got it. Okay, so this Shaila came to the Gedalim of the time, and the Stei Chemed ruled that you should use the Yiddish contractor, and the reason why, he said, because if the shul is not so pretty down here, it's going to be prettier in the eyes of the Eibishter that you hired and was built through it. That's what the Stei Chemed said. However, the other Gedalim of the time argued and said you could use the Goyish contractor. And based on what I'm sharing with you from this tour, Balaturim, l'chari, the other Gedalim are correct. Because if you need, again, if you don't need it, I got it. But if you need it, if it's meaningful for your kehillah, that they don't come to shul unless they see like, whoa, if that's what you need, so then, yes, so then it's something that the Yiddim can't copy, they can't do that, so then it's something unique. Just like David Melech bought the arena to build the Beis HaMikdash, so too I could get the Goyisha contractor to make a beautiful shul, because it's something unique. And this Shaila runs the gamut. It runs about a number of cases. For example, what would be, this Shaila was in the end of the 1800s, a very serious Shaila at the time. There's a whole sefer called Pre-Eitz Hada. It was printed at the end of the 1800s. That is a collection of shubis from maybe 25 Gedolei Hadar from Paiskim from all over the world that weighed in on the Shiloh. The Shiloh was like this: do I buy an esrog from Eretz Yisrael, which is not so nice? In those days it wasn't so nice. Or do I buy a Moroccan esrog, which is gorgeous? Now I'm not weighing in whether it's an esrog or lemon, but it's a gorgeous fruit. It's a gorgeous fruit. So do I buy the esrog Moroccan and I support the Arabs? Or do I buy an esrog in Eretz Yisrael, from Eretz Yisrael, and I support the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael? And this was the Charlotte that went across, and many Gedolim said you have to support and patronize the Yidden. And Rabbi Arik said, not like that. And Chuvizim Reyosha, he said, no, if you're looking for that beautiful esrog, and you can't get that beautiful esrog from an Israeli produce, then you have the right to buy by a guy, because the pasuk of Chisim Kermin Misecha was never said when it's far off. It has to be something comparable, something that's not meaningful to you. But if it's meaningful, I need that pre-Eitzada, so then it's not going to work. So then I'm allowed to buy by the guy rather than by the Yid. Good?
This then, is there an afmina if it's from or not from?
Oh, Tazai. So I actually skipped that. That was one of my many heterim. Well, that was one of them. So actually, not so pashit. Let's just say like this: if the Yid is a mumar, lahachis, which means he was born from, he went through a from elementary school education and went off the derech, so then b'chai gavna, then you don't have to patronize the Yid. In fact, you're supposed to even patronize the goy before such a Yid. But if the person was a tinnik shenishba, which is like most, unfortunately, Friar people today, so then I have to still support the Yid, at least when it's shava b'shava. If it's difference in price, then maybe I don't have to support the Yid. Maybe that's the pasuk of Chizim Kalam Miseka might not apply, and that's debatable because it's now dependent on how you teach the word Amisecha. See, Chazal teach the word Amisecha, Am She'itcha b'Torah u'v'mitzvos. See, if somebody who's fry, so even though he's a Yid and he's a Chicha, he's your brother and you have to love him to stitches, you have to love him like any other Yid, but he might not be Amisecha because he's not Itcha b'Torah u'v'mitzvos. If you don't teach Amisecha like that, then you would have to give him even if he's off on price. But at the very least, if he's the same price, then you have to patronize this fry Yid. But if he's
from and fry, is there a...
So the same thing, from and fry, yeah, then you'll have a
from.
kedima. Then you have a kedima on the from over the fry. If you tie Sham Yitzhak, it means Amshit with their mitzvahs. This Shiloh was a heavy Shiloh when it came in Eretz Yisrael in the 30s, when, what is it called, Histadrut? What was the organization, the party in Eretz Yisrael? So there was a Friar party, and they were doing the farms, and it became a big tumult. Do I have to support the Eretz Yisrael produce because it's Jewish, or not because they are fry, and they actually might be even mumarim? And many Gedolim weighed in on this, and Rabbi Kahan held that you do not have to support this Tadrus, and you shouldn't because they're mumarim. And the Chazon Ish and Rechaim Oiza argued, I'm going off on a tangent now, but it's a good piece of history, and they argued, and watch this chap, amazing chap. They said that unfortunately these farmers are living mamish from hand to mouth, and if they go under, sakonis and fashas for them and their children. They won't be able to support their family. And they said, watch this chap, that even though they may be mumarim, but their children are not. Their children are not mumarim. Their children are unfortunately raised in a mumadika family, so they're tinnik shenishba, and they're also katanim. So they said that you would have to support them because through supporting them, you're supporting their children that are tinnik shenishba. And actually, I found afterwards that the Beis Meir and Evan Ezer quotes a tshuva Rikivega that I haven't found in print, but it was a letter Rikivega wrote to the Beis Meir that says mamish that type of a svara. That even when you're dealing with a mumma, but his children aren't mummarim, so therefore you have to reckon with his children. It's a nice chap. It's like an out-of-the-box chap. But okay, let's go back here. We're getting derailed a little bit. So this would be another heter abaisai, is if it's something very unique that I can't get by the Yid, then I'm allowed to go to the guy. But it has to be something meaningful to me. That I taka can't get it, then I'm allowed to. Let's give another heta, and that is if the two are not in front of you. For example, I'm on the way, I'm going up to the country. I don't know what country is here. You have gorgeous weather the whole year, but I'm going up to the country, and while I'm driving, there's some stop shop on the way, some gas station on the way, and I want to stop in and buy a drink. 1 second, but it's a guy. So I should drive back to my hometown to buy by the Yid. No, that's not going to fly. The word is because it's not lefanecha. You only have to patronize the Yid over a guy if you have both available choices. If you don't have an available choice to buy by the Yid, then you're allowed to buy by the guy. And this could happen sometimes by night. It's all of a sudden you need something at 12 o'clock at night, and every Yiddish store is closed, because they have to get up in the morning for chakras, and the Goyish store, CVS, is open 24/7, and then mainly you could buy with them in the middle of the night. So then, again, if I need it, and the only choice I have now is the Goyish store, then I can buy by the Goyish store. Doesn't mean that I had the opportunity to buy by day. I'm going to wait till it's night, then the Yiddish store is closed, then I'll buy by a guy. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you need it now, and this is what's open now, so then you're allowed to buy by the guy over buying by Yid. Another heter is that someone...
that one.
Sorry?
Do these laws apply to renting to someone?
Rentals as well.
So I can't say if I have an apartment, I prefer to have a non-Jewish tenant. I just don't want to,
Really, you're supposed to rent to a Yid over a guy. The problem is that most likely it's going to be much more costly because you have to have a kosher kitchen and a lot of...
You can evict it.
Why can't you evict him? Why not? You can evict him.
We have a permanent base in here like that.
Oh, you don't have a bezdin. Okay, but the eviction process you get, you go through a bezdin and you get even here. You know how many people, case in Florida, we've dealt with and they shine by us. You could do it over Zoom. Some of them actually flew in, but it's fine. It's doable. It's doable. Okay, so that would be another heta. One more heta, and that someone mentioned. I forgot already who, but someone mentioned that what would be if I would only buy if it's on sale. I means the Yid is fair market value, but for fair market value, I'm not holding by buying. It's only, I'm a Yid and I love sales, and if I see a sale, then I'll buy. But if it's not a sale, then I'm not going to buy. So if that's the case, if I not holding by buying, I'm only holding by buying if it's cheaper, if it's on sale, and the only one who's giving me the sale is a guy, so then there's a tshuva from the Eretz Toiva Nun Zayin that he says that would be mutter. So that's another type of a heta. You have to be honest with yourself. Would you buy it even if it's not on sale? But if you want, and it's only doing it on sale, for example, I'm only willing to sell my house if I get like a crazy offer. And the only one's giving me a crazy offer is the guy, and not a Yid. So then I have a right to sell to a guy. You might have other issues, you're not supposed to sell to a guy in the Yid, but I'm just saying, in theory, I could sell because that, I was only holding by selling it if I could come out and pull out a certain amount of money. All right, but one more nakuda, which is not a heta, and that is tircha. Tircha is not a heta. I can't say, well, the Yiddish store is a little further away, it's a little more tircha, parking's not so great over there, and if I want to buy by the guy, that's not a heta. The Maramshik blasts such a thing. Tircha will not fly.
Even a big tircha?
Sorry?
Even a big tircha.
Even a big tircha. So the question is how much tircha. I don't think it's. I'll give you the haggadah that I think. Maramshik doesn't say any chiluk.
Is it value to not have? Isn't there
Right, correct. So if you tell me that tircha would have like a value, and you create that value to be a hefsed meruba, so then we could talk about it. That might be etta. Or if it's laniz daiti, it's a suggestion. If the tircha is something unheard of, it's not acceptable. That means if I have to buy, I don't know what, milk, I don't know what's going on in Florida, but let's say in Lakewood. If I have to buy a bottle of milk, I go to my local grocery. To tell me now I should schlep a half hour to go to buy milk, no one schleps a half hour to buy milk. It's not heard of. You don't do that for a bottle of milk. So if it's something unheard of for that product, maybe for a car you schlep, but not for a bottle of milk. So if it's a tircha that is just not acceptable in the industry for the product you're trying to buy, so then that's as if that store is not in front of you. It's not available. So just like I said, at night, when only one store is open, you're allowed to buy by the guy. It's like you only have one store. You only have a Goyish store. The Yiddish store is in Aventura. So I'm supposed to schlep to Aventura. I have no idea how far Aventura is from here. So, what?
It's pretty accurate, yeah.
Yeah, it's a slap? Yeah, okay, good. So they're taking me to different places. I was in Aventura today by lunch. I don't know where I am, but it's fine. So if it's too far away, it's unheard of. So then that's as if the store is not in front of you, and mameli you have a right to buy by a goy rather than by a yid. I want to finish with just a dvar musa, which just ties this in a little bit, and that is the pasuk in Kehelis. In Perek Vav pasuk Beis, we just linked it on Sukkot. Pasuk says like this. Watch the pasuk. It's a fascinating pasuk. Isha sheyitain lo yalakim oisha b'nechasim b'kavod. We're talking about a person that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was kind to him. He gifted him oisha b'nechasim b'kavod. He has wealth. He has assets. He has kavod. He has everything he would probably want. Ve'inenu chasal l'nafshoy, and he's not lagging anything michal asher yisaveh, from anything that he desires. Every desire is filled, like never heard of, because of Misha Yishlam Mana Reitzim Masayim. But this person has everything he wants. Good? And then the pasuk ends off, V'lo yashlitenu lakim lechem imenu, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give him the ability to derive pleasure from what he has. Why not? Ki ish nochri yechlenu, because a guy, some foreigner, ate from it. Zehevel v'choli ro. It's a folly, it's a sickness. What is this pasuk talking about? The pasuk starts off that Hashem gave him everything he could possibly want. He's not lacking anything. So what does it mean at the end? He didn't give him shlita, he didn't give him control over his money. You just said at the beginning of the pasuk that he has everything he could possibly desire. So he does have control. He's benefiting, he's desiring everything. He dreams he wants to go on a helicopter, he has a helicopter. He wants to go on a boat, he has a boat. He wants a Tesla, he has a Tesla. He has everything he could possibly imagine. And then it says, but he does him. So what I would like to suggest, Pshat in the pasuk, really, desire is this kasha. Many Rishonim is this kasha. I want to share with you my personal suggestion in this, and that is based on what we were talking about tonight. A person could go through life and have everything he could possibly desire, and have assets and business and Aisha B'Kavod, and has everything. But his whole life, instead of dealing with Yidden, he dealt with Goyim. Mamela was an Ish Nochri Yechlena. Everyone who could have benefited from his Masa Matan wasn't a Yid, but was rather a Goy. So when he comes to the lost of loving, when he comes to the next world, and he wants to have a true shlita on his assets, because remember Baba Basa says, a shlita on your mammon is not in this world. You can't take it with you. The shlita on your mammon is in the next world. When you gave money to tzedakah, every dollar you give away, that's your shlita on that money. So why? Because Ish Nochi Yechlenu, he was constantly doing commerce with Goyim, hiring Goyim, buying from Goyim, selling to Goyim. So that's a hevel v'chalira. It's a foolishness, it's a folly, it's a sickness. We have opportunities day in and day out, constant opportunities that we could deal with Yidden, help Yidden, patronize Yidden, support Yidden, and we wasted those opportunities. We can go through life wasting those opportunities. That's a ish nochi yechlenu, and that's a hevel v'chalira. That's something that we pull out of. We have to rethink and recalculate everything we do. Where we could help a Yid over a guy, and that will be benefit to us, la'asad lavai. But I want to show you, Rabbi say, it's not a benefit just la'asad lavai. It's a benefit in this world. And this I'm going to share with you a Sifsei Kahan. We'll end off with this. There's a Sifsei Kahan on Chumash, a fascinating Sifsei Kahan. He teaches the pasuk that we start off with, Zakta boy, ger v'toishiv imach v'chai imach. And he's troubled by, why do we have to say imach again? V'chai imach. What's the imach? We just said, V'chzakta boy, ger v'toishiv imach v'chai. What? The pasuk could have stopped right over there. Why do you have to say v'chai imach for? Zakta Sifsei Kahan, because he calls to Medrash by Rus. What the ani does for the usher is more than what the usher does for the ani. When the ani takes tzedakah from the usher, he makes the usher into a noising. He gives him a status as a giver. The usher gives to ani a few dollars, but the ani makes the usher into a giver. And he says that the usher is a galgal, and what we say a wheel of fortune. It goes up and down. Chalila, the same person, or by his children, or by his 8 o'clock. And how do you hold on to the galgal that it shouldn't turn? How do you grab that galgal, the exact boy, that it doesn't turn around, that the person goes from a noising to a makabel, that it goes from an usher to an ani? And that he says is the exact boy. When we support other yidden, then we're being maxic in the galgal of ashiris. We're holding on to that wheel of fortune and we're not letting it turn. So if we patronize other yidden, if we hire other yidden, then we remain that usher that we are. But if we don't, then Chalila B'chaz, the wheel of fortune can turn around and we'll be Chalila on the bottom rather than on top. So just this Indian of the exacta boy helps, not just in the loss of love, it gives us a shlita on our moment, but helps us in this world, which will give the gebench that should be able to be in kind the midst of exacta boy l'maloye. We should have a chisimka mimka la meisecha machar economy la meisecha, and with that we should hold on to the galgal of ashiras for us and for our children and days to come. Thank you for listening.